Welcome back to another installment of Extinct Disney Ride Lore. Today we'll look at Hollywood Studios to talk about their once flagship attraction, the Great Movie Ride. The former MGM Studios had to do a balancing act by serving two major companies at the time. This former fan favorite told the history of the silver screen while putting you in the middle of your very own movie. There was a bunch of excuses made to why this attraction had to close, but for a long time this was the only reason to enter Disney World's third gate. But before we get started, I just want to let you know that I have a Patreon with a link in the description, so if you enjoy my channel and like to see more videos, consider joining. But without further ado, let's take a look at the Great Movie Ride. May 1st, 1989. Located in a replica of the famous Grauman's Theater in California, the Great Movie Ride opened alongside then MGM Studios. But the original idea for this park and attraction could have its roots traced back to Epcot. A movie-themed pavilion near Journey into Imagination was being discussed in the mid-80s, with its main attraction being called Great Moments at the Movies. Then Disney CEO Michael Eisner and WDI President Marty Sklar thought that the idea was so strong that they could make an entire park based on just that idea. An early concept of this ride was set to be sponsored by retail store Sears, and the two companies had a 10-year agreement in the start of November of 1987, but these plans would be scrapped before the park's opening. Coca-Cola would step in to be the replacement sponsor for this ride. This attraction would start guests from the early days of Hollywood from the 1930s, with classics such as Footlight Parade and Singing in the Rain. All the way up to more recent box office hits like Indiana Jones and Alien, with the ride's climax culminating in an iconic Wizard of Oz scene. What most riders never experienced, though, was a rare second storyline only used for busy park days. The common 1A storyline started in the Public Enemy scene, when your ride vehicle is taken over by an old-timey gangster played by a real person. While the 2B storyline starts in the Man with No Name scene, when your ride vehicle is taken over by a Wild West outlaw. Both end in the same way when the gangster or outlaw enter the Indiana Jones scene, and they see a giant jewel of a statue of the Egyptian god Anubis. That's actually the second time in 3 videos Anubis was mentioned. Kinda weird. But anyway, neither could help themselves and try to snag the jewel but end up facing a similar grisly end. It was a level of interactivity we haven't seen in a Disney ride since they had people in suits of armor at the Haunted Mansion. August 13th, 2017. The Great Movie Ride would close, puzzling many fans. This was one of the most popular rides in any of the Florida's 4 gates. Marty Sklar, who as we mentioned was head of Disney Imagineering, was quoted as saying, "We are not a museum. We have to come up with new and interesting attractions so our guests remain engaged." To what I read as, this ride was too big and expensive to keep running. Some circumstantial evidence to give light to this theory was the licensing agreements Disney had with the other companies that produced the other movies. Singing in the Rain, Casablanca, and The Wizard of Oz are just to name a few. Disney still had to pay to keep their likenesses for this attraction. Sklar was also quoted by saying the Great Movie Ride had some cool animatronics, but couldn't match up with the interactivity and immersion as other attractions. They wanted to introduce something more innovative. Which totally checks out, right? I mean, why keep Horizons when you could choose your way back home, but make Mission Space where you don't hit the button in time and the computer does your job for you? Totally seems like the newer version is the much more interactive and immersive experience. Sorry. Totally not bitter over a 40-year-old ride getting replaced by a lesser attraction. But no matter how you felt about the closing, construction on the new Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway took 3 years to complete, and on March 4th of 2020, the first ever attraction to feature the company's mascot was born. Not everyone was happy to be included as an animatronic in this ride. One such example was the family of Lee Marvin. They felt it was disrespectful to choose his role in the 1965 film Capaloo, where he played Kid Shalene. The character was depicted as a drunk, and the estate didn't think it was in good taste to pick that one role out of anything else that he played during his 35-year career. Do you remember water jets in the Footlight parade scene? If you did, this wasn't a Mandela effect. As a matter of fact, the first year of operation, this was the case. The scene in question is where animatronic dancers were on different platforms to stack up in the shape of a cake, where water jets would be in between each dancer. The issue was that the cake would rotate, but the plumbing inside would always malfunction, causing flooding in the area. So Disney's answer was to stop the rotation of the cake along with dimming the lights to not draw attention to the out-of-service water jets. And finally, did you know there was supposed to be a second Great Movie Ride replaced with all Muppet characters and a section of the park just dedicated to the Muppets? This was set to open alongside the Muppet 3D movie in 1991, but the deal would fall apart due to the tragic passing of Jim Henson in 1990. Along with the ride, we would have gotten a Muppet-themed restaurant where Mama Melrose is now. The working name for the restaurant was the Great Gonzo's Pizza Pandemonium Parlor. Food would be delivered from the rafters by animatronic rats, so if you ever wondered why the ceiling at Mama Melrose was so low, now you know the answer. But that'll do it for this episode of Extinct Disney Ride Lore. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it, and make sure to tell me what other extinct rides you'd like me to cover in the future. So until next time, drop a like if you enjoyed this, subscribe if I earned it, join the Patreon only if you can, and thank you for watching.